Sure, thank you. Good morning, everybody. So yes, I mean, these numbers just tell the story right out. The fact that OTT is here to stay. If you take a look at the revenue that's been generated by OTT and how it is substantially growing, from a US over-the-top streaming services, an estimated $20.1 billion in revenue last year. And then the global growth of over the top is phenomenal. I mean, you're looking at $165.13 billion by 2025 is the projection. And the US does remain the largest OTT market globally. And again, to set his point, these numbers are probably going to exponentially grow based on current situation with COVID-19. So it's just critical to see that there is no turning back. OTT is here to stay. Again, if you take a look at this tremendous growth and where we're at now, the opportunity basically to tap this market is phenomenal. People are looking for content like yours. This actually is a good place for me to kind of lead with a statement that I think is so critical. The beauty of OTT is that it provides an opportunity for entrepreneurs and independent niche brands to succeed. Prior to basically OTT really getting into gear where it is now, there really wasn't an opportunity for small independent companies to secure distribution. It was much more difficult to reach distributors, the major cable providers and satellite providers, to get your brand seen. Now you have an opportunity, you could be a very small niche brand independent. You have an opportunity to get your brand out there, build a successful business. And that to me is absolutely the biggest game changer we're going to see as it pertains to video, information, and entertainment. And this slide speaks purely to it in terms of what it's projected to grow to. And again, we have to, say that this is all projected prior to what we're all dealing with now.
Hey Nick, just real quick on that too. We just I think that there's an announcement, or not an announcement, but there's some news around Roku's estimates. Just Roku alone, in just under 40 million active accounts right now for Q1. Like that's the gain. That's where we're standing after Q1 this year. These are the estimates. I mean, those numbers are incredible. I mean, how does that equate to like a traditional affiliate cable operator numbers? I mean, who's the biggest cable operator out there? How does that compare to 40 million active accounts? I mean, it's
exactly. If you look at it that way, you take a look at the largest single distributor being Comcast as a cable operator with approximately 23 million or so customers. I mean, the Roku footprint, clearly, doubles that. Not to mention the fact that you have multi-boxes, multi-Rokus within a home, as an example, or multi-platforms of any type. So now you've got this opportunity to go to direct-to-consumer with your high-speed connection, completely circumvent cable if you choose to, or traditional cable, I should say, and have multiple opportunities within a home for not only the big brands, but now so many niche brands.
Great, thank you so much, Nick. Tom, I'm going to go ahead and kick this slide over to you. I think it's critical for us to discuss not only the keys to OTT success, but what does it take? What is the timeline for someone who is launching an AVOD service or SVOD service for that matter? So if you wouldn't mind, we'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, happy to do that. Just for one last point on the previous topic, we were I think what we're also seeing in terms of growth, with OTT is on with the manufacturers themselves, the smart TV, the Vizios, the LGs, the Samsungs, the smart TVs, all of these players, for a while, a lot of these folks were just kind of sitting around. They had an offering, they had an app platform that you could, deploy an app to. But we're also seeing now a lot of innovation, a lot of new technology around this. So everybody's getting on board. All the manufacturers are getting on board. Again, like as I was saying earlier, in the beginning part of OTT, we were seeing a lot of this, but not a lot of movement on the technology. It was very stagnant on some platforms. But now we're seeing a lot more movement, which is an indicator that everything is moving in this direction. So the keys to OTT success. I mean, some of the highlights. I mean, it really does require patience, planning, and consistency, and then auditing the process, right? Like I think what we deal with a lot is, brands that have great content, but they're new. They're kind of new to the market. They're either producing their own content, or they're acquiring the rights to great content, and then they're carving out direct to consumer applications or services, and they want things to happen right away. And I think there's with this movement, and with 40 million active accounts just on the Roku platform, it's visibility, discoverability is the biggest challenge now. So it doesn't you have to have the marketing plan in place. You have to have that. There's no getting around being able to promote your brand, and that takes patience. Putting out the right content, um, working with vendors that know what they're doing, and being consistent with those plans, and then getting to a point where maybe it's every quarter. That's what we do. So when we work with our partners, we look at things every quarter and we say what's working and what's not. We try to make adjustments, and then we look at it again over another quarter. But I think that expectation needs to be set out of the gate, that this is not something where you're not going to see things day one. You're going to see growth. Things are working well and you're getting attention. You are going to see growth, but it's depending on what your goals are, you have to be patient and let things kind of go. People need to be able to get in, engage, tell their friends. The marketing needs to kick in, and this just takes time. I mean, I would say 6 months minimum to really start to see things start to really shoot up if things are all clicking and working well. And again, from a technology perspective, it definitely is not a set it and forget it. You cannot just deploy something and just say, all right, here we go, and just let it be what it's going to be. It needs to be adapted to what is happening with viewership, what people are asking for. And you need to be, and that's what, again, I think that's one of the beautiful things about OTT, and having that direct to consumer, that personal relationship with the viewer. You can get that type of feedback where you can't get that in traditional cable TV. And from there, every detail matters in OTT. I mean, polish, the animations, the screen transitions. I mean, even things like just like low latency. When a viewer clicks on something, think about the process. Somebody comes home, they just want to sit down and watch something that you have. They don't want to sit there and have to wait and wait on content to load, or be confused by an overly convoluted interface. They want to just navigate to something, click it, and watch it. Um, and so it's kind of ironic in terms of what we think about design nowadays, UI and UX design for OTT. It really should be a more minimalistic approach. We want to get the interface out of the way, present you with what you want to watch, present the viewer what they want to watch right away, and get them into content. We just, a little bit more of a technical conversation. We have a native app development approach to the fragmentation problem. So we've got 12 plus platforms. They all have their different technology, things that we have to do differently for each platform. Some of them have their own programming languages, but we've spent years working with those native tools, because we know that, first of all, native development, native apps perform better on the platform. If there's opportunities to get promoted, and sometimes these aren't always known. Sometimes the manufacturer will just say, or the platform will just say, hey, we want to highlight your content or highlight your channel in the the main home screen. And sometimes you get rejected for that because maybe you're the developer that you worked with, or the company put in a tool or used a technology that's not not part of their defined library set, and maybe that's just causing a problem. So again, just working with the right partners that know what they're doing in terms of the development. Robust searching, being able to be part of what we're calling, just on the universal term, universal search. This exists for all the platforms. Different platforms have different requirements, but the point is that people are searching for content. They're searching for what to watch on the home screen of the main home screen, and you want to be in that list. You should definitely be in that list so that people can kind of stumble upon your channel, your app, and get installs. This is almost a no-brainer. And we recommend that everybody that can take advantage of universal search can do that. We have a way of setting that up very easily, and it's a great way to go. Programming, right? Like, so being able to have a windowing strategy around what is going to be, if you're distributing to multiple endpoints, where maybe some of our partners actually distribute to Netflix and Amazon channels, have content there, but also have maybe more I wouldn't say it's premium content. It could be premium content, but just have specific content that's in the direct-to-consumer apps so that you can incentivize people to go there, because that's ultimately where you want to get your viewership. You want to have people engaging with your content in that app so that you can capture information, you can see what's going on, and you can have, again, that interaction with that personalized interaction with your viewers. If it's an SVOD offering, just, easy sign up flows, in-app purchasing. I actually recommend, we get a lot of feedback around rev share, around subscription fees. I think it's worth the rev share because of the conversion process is so much easier. You want to take advantage of that compulsive sort of like, I like something, here it is, they're in that moment. You just want to capture that conversion right there. If you have to pull them out and have them go to a computer and go do something else, another part of the process, it's very disruptive, and a lot of times you lose folks. And so that's something that we work with our partners to make an easy process to get people signed up. And with SVOD too, you have a lot of personalization options because people are logging in. We now know who these people are, and we know some things about them, enough to give them some recommended content. We know what their interests are, so we can create a more personalized approach to the service. And if you're serving ads, one of the things that we like to recommend is working with an SSP that gives you server-side ad, basically having the ads embedded into the streams when we deliver to the screen, because it's just a better experience. It's a more traditional linear experience. You're not stopping one video and starting another. It's a little bit more disruptive. So we like to work with partners to do that. And then, obviously, being able to, like, we're working on solutions right now to create better data so that we can send that information to the ad servers to give us more targeted advertising with a more diverse ad library. So you're actually giving the right ads to the right people, at the right time. So these are the highlights. There's a lot in here. Every business is different. And that's why I think it's important that you work with partners that understand that, and it can adapt to different business models and strategies. So but these are the top line items.
Thank you so much for that, Tom. Just to go back to SVOD, I do want to touch upon the easy sign up with in-app purchase. I know it is something that could be a pain point for some businesses in terms of, giving up 30% of their revenue for subscriptions. But as you mentioned, in terms of just a frictionless process, I know like Roku, for example, I know that they also have the ability to help not only obviously acquire the subscriber, but they also have some retention tools in place. So it's my understanding that even as they are taking 30%, they're also working very closely with the publisher and retaining subscribers. So in the event that the credit card has expired, or even if their subscription expired, a pop-up on their screen would appear versus getting an email, etc. So I would have to agree with you that when it comes to SVOD, in-app purchase, I've seen it both ways, where folks would prefer maybe just to sign in order to avoid providing 30% to the respective platform. But we have seen better conversions from a download to subscribe rate when in-app purchase has been implemented.
Definitely. Absolutely. That's a great point.
Excuse me, my computer is possessed this morning. Nick, I'm going to go ahead and kick this slide over to you. It'd be great for us to talk about the different models that we have. I know there's TV everywhere, there's SVOD, there's AVOD, there's free. We're leaving out the free today because it's more on the topic of monetization. But it would be really helpful for us to learn a little bit about each model and what your thoughts are on in terms of the pros and cons.
Sure. So in terms of the model that you want to deploy, it really depends on a number of things. What's your current distribution of your brand? What's the depth of your library? And are you an established brand or a new brand? TV everywhere, has really been the staple for most cable television brands. Again, they started out in the traditional cable space, and what TVE gives them the opportunity to do is take that exact product, authenticate based on your cable operator, and bring your brand to people outside of the traditional platform on a Roku, Fire Stick, etc. Really, the way I think about it, it's really a bridge to the future for a traditional distributor who needs to figure out where they are today and how the whole model is changing and how they're going to migrate to what is potentially going to be a complete direct-to-consumer model in the future. That's really the opportunity from a TVE perspective for every major cable brand out there. Again, it gives your customers, your viewers, a chance to watch anytime, anywhere. And it also gives you a chance to build a deeper bond with your customers based on the brand depth. So you might have a series that's not currently active on the linear channel. It's either a show that maybe is even several years old. Right now, for instance, HBO is doing that. It's a very good example of doing that with Sopranos and a number of other series that are, have been around for a number of years. So it's an opportunity, again, to build your brand or sustain your brand as we migrate to these new platforms. So as for subscription video, it's pretty straightforward what that is. It's a subscription service that people will pay for to get on the platform or to buy your platform, and then they have access to your content. The content could be content you've produced yourself or curated. You have an opportunity to do a number of things with the SVOD model where you can offer certain series. You can maybe do a refresh rate where you offer new content at any given time to kind of keep people coming back to create a nice retention strategy. But subscription video really applies to anybody, whether you're a large media company or a small independent or an entrepreneur who's looking to get into this space. Again, you have the opportunity here to reach a very small niche with subscription video. We're seeing this a lot with fitness brands and wellness brands in particular right now, where it's a great opportunity to reach out to people and people are willing to pay. The key point here is subscription fatigue. How many subscriptions will you buy as a consumer? There's a certain point where you start aggregating up that number of subscriptions that you look at it and you say, gee, this is as much as my cable bill. So again, that's essentially the con. But again, the opportunity is that since it's very personalized, you can be very successful with a subscription product and have a very small base of customers. Maybe your price point is higher, but you're catering to a very specific group of people as a boutique brand. AVOD is very similar to SVOD in terms of the type of content. However, instead of paying a subscription, customers are essentially paying by watching advertising. It's, you have the opportunity here to build a brand, put a lot of content out there. Tom talked a bit about the different models a little while ago in terms of strategy and marketing. But the key for AVOD is having a deep content experience, making it easily accessible with no barrier to entry for customers. And by doing so, you give people a lot of access. You hope to get them to sample by doing your marketing, and then you have a chance to grow that business into what you hope will become a robust ad-supported ad revenue business. And then I guess we could say the last piece, which we don't list here, but is essentially a hybrid between SVOD and AVOD. The key there, again, is that maybe you have a certain amount of free on-demand content on your platform, and then you have an SVOD component. So you have an opportunity to generate some revenue from ads while at the same time driving those customers to a more exclusive experience that they could purchase from you on an SVOD side. And those are really the three basic models that are out there today. I would say unless you're a large media company or even a mid-size, you don't have to be a large, any media company that has, I guess the definitive way to look at it is any company that has substantial cable television distribution. Those are pure TVE plays. For everybody else, it's really SVOD or AVOD. And keep in mind that the big media companies are also getting into the SVOD and AVOD space now as they look to the future when there's much more of a direct-to-consumer approach.
Thank you, Nick.
Yeah, just real quick. I'm sorry, so just real quick, I just wanted to comment on the subscription fatigue. I actually think, I don't know if there's any data on this, but that the folks are cutting the cord not to necessarily. I think it's more about like when you think about the cost of traditional cable bundle, it's the fact that you're paying X for something that you have absolutely no control over. You're paying for a lot of things that you're not watching. I mean, I think most people probably watch, I don't know, maybe half a dozen or so of the linear channels on their cable bundle. Whereas, I mean, even if they were paying the same rate, but they had full control, it's VOD, it's, they're picking the components themselves. It's very a la carte. I think that's something that, I don't know. I just think it's worth mentioning that I think it's not so much about trying to get around paying the fees, but just being able to create their own bundles in a way, which is what
Right.
I think the SVOD model can really support that.
Right. You're right, it is. It's totally about the personalization that you don't have when you have a large cable bundle.
Great, thank you. And just to touch on the TV everywhere, just because I know some folks that are listening may come from the broadcaster or just, the cable space in general. Typically, even as early as 5 years ago, TV everywhere was more popular for these types of networks, considering their agreement with the operators, et cetera. Now, I'm still essentially a big fan of TV everywhere as I utilize it myself. But what I'm starting to notice is that a lot of these brands are either taking more of a TV everywhere AVOD approach, TV everywhere SVOD, or even just going completely SVOD or completely AVOD. What are your thoughts on that, considering, Nick, your experience within that space? I know, as early as even 10 years ago when we were working together, we would dare not go SVOD or AVOD in an effort to not upset the operator. But I think folks are a little bit more okay with doing that. What are your thoughts on that?
Sure, sure. Well, if we go back, when TVE began to roll out, really it was a staple and in many cases a requirement from the cable operator because it gave them a better product as well. So cable companies, broadcasters basically started their TVE platforms as a complement to their existing distribution deals. And some of the restrictions in those deals were that you could not do a direct-to-consumer SVOD or even an AVOD based on your content. So now we're gradually migrating to the point where they can coexist. A great large example of that would be the Disney Plus platform, which you can go direct to consumer, yet Disney also has a phenomenal footprint with all of the distributors. So the world is changing. So I think you're going to see more of the SVODs and AVODs. We're actually seeing it already, where a number of brands are doing AVOD and doing SVOD in addition to their large relationships. They have deep distribution relationships with the major distributors. I think the difference is really comes down to the windowing. And how can you use the windowing platform so you keep your cable platform with content that doesn't detract, and yet you can grow on the SVOD and AVOD side. And then again, there's a coexistence there. I believe that the distributors also can benefit from those SVOD and AVOD those SVOD and AVOD packages, simply because, well, again, take a look right now. You're gradually seeing more and more of the distributors embed Netflix or Disney Plus or any other platform behind their paywalls as a direct-to-consumer purchase. So again, the world is changing so fast. And at the same time, everyone's challenged with migrating the business model over to this new world without cratering the business model at the same time. But just to wrap that up again, there's a lot of customers, there's a lot of brands, a lot of entrepreneurs who have not had the opportunity to secure cable deals because of their size or how small they are, yet they are very boutique. And there's an opportunity, and that's the beauty of OTT.
Great, thank you. And one more item I do just want to touch on from this slide is respective to AVOD. We mentioned that one of the cons are a high volume required for programmatic fill rate, which is essential, I would say, and it kind of goes back to the previous slide with the keys to OTT success. A lot of folks, just in my experience in talking to prospects and clients, is launching an AVOD service, and even working with a programmatic partner. It is obviously possible out the gate, but I do think it's important for us to make sure that it's known that you're not going to get 100% fill rate with having a new OTT service. Now, if you are able to have 500,000 to 1 million eyeballs on your service right away, then yes, you will have a nice programmatic fill rate. But that is something that I don't feel is necessarily known when it comes to evaluating your OTT. It's important that when you are putting together your business plan and you are learning or looking to implement a programmatic strategy, which is critical, especially out the gate, even having a direct sales approach with programmatic, more of like a hybrid type of model, I think is I would say more sustainable and just more realistic.
Agreed. Absolutely.
So last but not least, I'm actually going to go ahead and take this slide for today, how to market to your audience in this climate of heightened competition. So in a lot of ways, we talk about tracking the user behavior. This can be done if you have an SVOD and you're able to capture user information, whether it's their email and address, etc. But most importantly, it's analytics. So when you are in that evaluation process with the vendor or the company that you're utilizing to help build your OTT service, I think one of the critical components to make sure that is involved are, how are the analytics? What type of information am I going to see once I launch these services? And analytics do play a very critical role. Not only will it help your marketing, but it also helps you make impactful programming acquisition strategies, making sure that the content that you're acquiring is what your audience wants to watch. So when we say tracking user behavior, essentially, yes, from an SVOD perspective, that can be done very easily. But even if you're just AVOD, there's still a very nice, robust set of analytics that can be tracked. And again, just through, when you're out there and you're identifying different companies to work with, I think the most important, and one of the top questions that should be asked is, how are the analytics? What am I capturing? What is it that I'm able to decipher from my OTT services? And then just, when we are utilizing those analytics, that user behavior, some of the examples of actions that we can take are sending push notifications. Now that will be directly for mobile only. We really can't do that on the CTV device right now. Email campaigns, personalized recommendations, and then again, just back to producing and buying the content that's really most essential for your user. And then, of course, making sure that you're positioning the content at the right time, programming it properly. If there's content that's more for kids, having that available during the day, etc. And by the way, that also is relative to the device. Let me show you this slide. So, it's important that we also target audiences by platform. Everyone wants to get everywhere, and I certainly understand that. And I always tell my clients that in the event you were to launch an OTT service, I'd rather you be wildly successful on 5 platforms than so-so on 10 platforms. So it is important when you are making your decision on, distributing your service, what are the platforms that are right for you, the type of content that you have, your audience. I don't think it's a secret in terms of just distribution alone. Roku has the most here in the US. They're also really growing their international footprint through their smart TV devices, specifically in Europe and Latin America. But that's also a critical part in terms of your OTT success, is choosing the right platform, identifying the type of content that you have. Long form content tends to yield that more lean back experience, which I think does very well on a connected TV device. Short form, we're seeing what's going on with Quibi. They're on mobile only right now. I would not be surprised if they launched on Roku anytime soon, but they started on mobile for a reason. So I do think that's also very essential when you are making these decisions and making sure that you are, quantifying your success, that you're also on the right devices. Nick or Tom, is there anything else you'd like to add to that before we wrap up our webinar for today?
No, I think you've really hit on it. I mean, again, really the way to do this clearly is to take a look at your brand and where you want, basically what your target demographic is, and then build out from there and choose the best platforms based on, and it's exactly what you just said, just build on that, but really understand your brand and the demographics and your targets before you choose your platforms.
I agree. Yep.
Great, thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to the QA section. So if everyone could just give me a moment. I see some questions have been asked. One moment. Okay, so we did get some questions on the app management platform. Can we have a demo? Absolutely. I will reach out to you after this call, and we will also go ahead and facilitate a demo. We are doing demos they're just more on a one-on-one basis versus having it on the webinar today, just because we want to make sure we cover everything. But yes, I'm more than happy to schedule a call with you today, and we'll walk through a demo for you. Another question was, do we support 4K HDR? Tom, would you like to take that one?
Sure. Yes, we do. We work with, we work with your video, the source of your video, where it's coming from, and just funnel it through. And we support 4K HDR, and I also see a follow up around the live stream, and that's also supported as well.
Great, thank you so much. Another question that we had, will these slides be available after the presentation? Absolutely. We also have a recording of the webinar if that's helpful. So I will reach out to you after this call today. And again, if you'd like to walk through the presentation or even do a demo of our app management platform or even our apps in general, I'd be happy to help facilitate. Okay. Another question that we got was in relation to syndicating our content versus O&O. So that is a very popular question that we do receive. And when I refer to syndication, I'm referring to having content live on a Roku channel, for example, or a Zumo or Tubi TV. So there's certainly pros and cons to both. I'll use Roku channel as an example for today. So I have seen a lot of success with folks syndicating their content to their Roku channel. But what I've also seen is that they have their O&O channel on Roku, which is helping them drive traffic. So when we are syndicating our content to the Roku channel, unfortunately, there's not much in terms of analytics that you're able to capture. You do get the ability to, from a monetization perspective, see how well your channel is doing based on, what from an accounting, what you're seeing there. But you're not really getting a lot of analytics. You don't really have much insight into the types of content. And you're also within a very, I would say crowded marketplace. But I still would never shy away from our partners or clients working with a Roku channel, because I do think there's a lot of benefits there. Having an O&O, again, it's owned and operated. You own the analytics, you have more insight, you have more control, you have the capability to essentially, monetize it in any way you want. I know with some of these syndicated partners, they have, separate rules and regulations as to, the ad fill, the queue points, parameters, etc. So, when it comes to your own channel, you obviously have a lot more control. I would, in terms of recommendation, what I would prefer, I would say a hybrid. I think, utilizing both is certainly important, and I do think that should be part of everyone's OTT strategy. One thing, though, I would, keep in mind is making sure that your content is windowed properly, so that if somebody is searching for the content, they're not seeing it in a variety of different places. So that is something that I can understand can be a challenge for a lot of media publishers and companies, but that is something that I would keep an eye on, is just making sure that there's a healthy windowing strategy when it comes to your program. And that, I don't think I have any more questions. And thank you everyone again for joining our webinar today. That concludes our webinar in terms of OTT evolution. We do have our last one, our last NAB webinar this afternoon at 4 p.m. That one is going to be more pay TV and broadcaster focused. So please feel free to join if you're available. Hope everyone is safe and well. And thank you again for taking time out of your day to join us. And we look forward to connecting with everyone soon. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody.